don't really like the dark. As a kid, it wasn't so bad. I had my stuffed animals around me and my nightlight was working overtime. But as I got older, the fear of the dark just kinda stuck around. It didn't help that my parents would tell me scary stories to keep me up at night. And what's worse, they're all true. I'll tell you one now. A man named Noah decided to move out on his own for the first time. He managed to find an old house in the suburbs that was being rented cheaply. It turned out the reason it was going for such a low price was because it was haunted. But Noah wasn't afraid of ghosts, as he didn't believe in the supernatural. He was only afraid of the dark. So he signed the papers and moved right in. The house was big. It had 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, a living room, kitchen and dining room, and a long hallway. Actually, it was kind of creepy how long that hallway was. The whole place felt cold and empty, even though it was summer. When he went into the bedrooms, he noticed the paint was peeling off the walls. The windows were boarded up and there was dust everywhere. They looked like they hadn't been cleaned in years. One bedroom was different. It had light coming through the window. And there was a girl sitting on the bed. She looked up at him and smiled. Startled, Noah dropped his things and backed away. The girl stayed seated on the bed and waved at him.
Are you here to play?
She asked. You're not supposed to be here. Your parents are probably looking for you, he said as he looked toward the door and motioned for her to go. As he turned back in her direction, she wasn't there. Shaking his head in disbelief, Noah thought he was seeing things. He must have been exhausted from driving and hadn't slept in a while. Shaking, he started unpacking his things, looking over his shoulder every couple of minutes thinking he saw or heard something. He put most of his things in the living room. There was no way he was sleeping in that room where he saw the girl. That night he tried watching TV, but couldn't get any reception. All the channels were snowy and glitchy. He tried turning on the radio, but it only played static. The clock ticked loudly and the silence was deafening. Suddenly he heard footsteps. Slow footsteps. They seemed to be coming from the attic above him. He strained to listen but couldn't make out anything. Maybe it was just his imagination overreacting based on what had happened earlier, he thought. As soon as he lay down, the footsteps came again. This time he could hear dragging noises. What sounded like boxes being pushed across the floor. Slowly, Noah got up and walked towards the attic stairs. Just as he reached them, the noise stopped. Maybe it was the wind, he thought. But then he heard something else. It was a voice whispering his name. He froze. Who was there? Was it the girl from earlier? Hadn't seen her since earlier that day. He could have sworn his name had been sounded out. He knew the sound of his own name. But did the entity know it too? Or was it trying to say something else? Unable to shake the feeling of dread, Noah retreated back to his makeshift bed. There was no way he was going to sleep now. He kept tossing and turning. But every time he closed his eyes, he saw the girl standing over him. Her face was pale and lifeless, and her eyes were dark and soulless. He sat up in bed and stared at the ceiling. Then he remembered the voice. Had he called his name? Time went by slower than waiting for his shift to end at work. Then he heard footsteps again, dragging noises, the sound of something heavy hitting the floor. And then the voice again. He lost his breath. Suddenly, something moved in his peripheral vision. He turned his head to see what it was, but it was gone. Noah began to panic. His fear and dread was increasing as he went back to staring at the ceiling. But then he heard the voice again.
Noah.
It was closer this time. And then something brushed against his leg. Startled, he threw himself backwards. Something white flashed in front of his eyes. Then everything went black. When he opened his eyes again, he was lying on the floor, shaken but unharmed. He stood up and looked around in the dark. He couldn't see anything. The attic door creaked open so slowly, and the moonlight streamed through the opening. He walked over and hesitantly stepped inside. Moonlight revealed more dusty boxes stacked against the far wall and cobwebs hung from the rafters. The air was stale and smelled like mildew. Taking a deep breath, he realized he was not alone. The presence in the attic was something that was felt all over. Then he saw it. In the moonlight, a figure was outlined against the dusty window. It was the girl from earlier. She was tall and thin with long, greasy hair covering most of her face. Her dress was tattered and dirty. She was humming a tuneless song and swaying back and forth. Then she stopped and turned to look at him. Startled, Noah stumbled backwards, but the girl only smiled.
You found me.
She said. Her voice was like nails on a chalkboard. Noah wanted to run, but he was frozen in place. What do you want? He finally croaked out.
To play.
The girl replied. She took a step towards him, and he took a step back. She took another step, and he stumbled over a box, falling onto the floor. The girl loomed over him, and he braced for impact, but it never came. He opened his eyes to see the girl staring at him.
Do you want to play now?
She asked. She held out a hand to him. Hesitantly, he took it. Her fingers were icy, cold, and felt like dead leaves beneath his touch. He let out a small scream and pulled his hand back. The girl's face contorted in pain.
Please.
She whispered.
Please stay and play with.
Noah wanted to run, but he couldn't move. He wanted to scream, but he couldn't make a sound. He was paralyzed with fear. Then he saw a change in the girl's expression. Her eyes lost their luster and her body began to fade away like a bad television signal. "Wait," he cried out, but his voice was lost in the static. The girl was gone and the attic was silent. Only the sound of the wind could be heard whistling through the cracks in the walls. He searched the room, but there was no sign of her anywhere. Had she been real? Was she a ghost? What did she want from him? He didn't know the answers to these questions. But he did know that he couldn't stay in the attic much longer. He made his way down the creaking stairs and out of the house. The moon was high in the sky and the stars twinkled above him. He looked back at the house and shuddered. What happened to that girl? What other horrors lurked within its walls? He didn't want to find out tonight. And so he left for the night back to his parents' house. But when he returned the next day, it would be the last time he would ever see the outside of that house. No one knows what happened to Noah, but those who passed by his house, that old creepy house, to this day swear they can hear his screams echoing from within. No one is quite sure if he was ever truly gone or if he's still trapped in the house to this day. But one thing is certain. Noah was never seen again, and the screams linger on and on.